Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stronghold podcast. If you are a fight fan and you are in Singapore, it's been a great week for you all. Welcome to the Stronghold podcast. Thank you for joining us. We're finally out of the second quarantine, the second lockdown. It's been 6 weeks since the gyms were opened up and since everything closed down. And finally, this week, we are back cooking again. So everybody, hopefully all of you guys listening are back to training again. And also, dude, there have been more fights this week. Jake, the producer, everybody, over there on the other side.
Hey.
What's up, my brother?
Not a lot. Like you said, there's been not only an obscene number of fights, there is an obscene amount of sport on at this moment in time. So I have watched no fights.
Dude, you've got the rugby, you've got the football, you've got the bare knuckle, you've got the boxing, you've got the MMA. Let me just lay this down, really, and for anybody listening, if you're an MMA fan, in the last 10 days, let's say, we've had, oh man, go through the fight. So we had the UFC today. Today was Ciryl Gane and Alexander Volkov. You had that whole card.
Korean Zombie last week.
Lomachenko just fought today. We've got like three maybe of the top 5 pound for pound fighters. Sorry, 2 out of the top 5 pound for pound fighters fighting in the last 10 days or so. Inoue just fought last week. He looked amazing. He had 3 body shot knockdowns. Have you heard of this guy, Jake?
No, I don't. I only follow British boxers.
So pull this guy up. His last name is Inoue. Inoue. He's easily top 3 pound for pound boxing in the world. He dropped this guy 3 times with liver shots. 3 times with a left hook to the body. This guy's amazing, dude. He's like, I think he's 26, 28 years old, something like that. He's top 3 pound for pound in boxing, Japanese fighter. Amazing. He's got one of the nastiest body attacks you'll ever see. Also, 52 kilos. Maybe even less. Super small guy, ridiculous power to the body. He's top 3, arguably top 2 pound for pound in boxing right now. It's like him and Canelo are top 2. He just fought. And then Lomachenko just fought today. He got a nice win. It looks like the rematch between him and Timofeo Lopez is going to come up soon. So you had like 2 of the great boxers, top pound for pound in the world, that just fought. Anderson Silva just fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. last week. You've got the MMA fights today. You've got the bare knuckle. The bare knuckle just happened. There were like 3 title fights, I think, on the bare knuckle, including Thiago Alves, a household name everybody knows if you follow MMA. He fought for a title. Joe Riggs, who fought Matt Hughes way back in the day for the welterweight title, he fought. You had Joey Beltran, who's the current bare knuckle heavyweight champion, former UFC vet. He fought. Paige Van Zandt and Rachel Ostovich fight, I think, next week. I mean, dude, I just can't keep up.
No, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
But you, as I was saying to you, you throw on top of that the European Championships happening in football / soccer, depending on where in the world you're from. And then there is so much rugby on at this moment in time as well that you just sport for choice. It is brilliant. It's
good to be a sports fan. And if you're in the lockdown, if you're in the COVID times, which a lot of the globe is going back down into the lockdown with this Delta variant that's just rampaging the world at the moment. So a lot of countries, I heard Australia is just going back down into Sydney's going back in. We just came out. And so kind of tough depending on where you're at, but also, you know, if you're a sport fan, if you're a fight fan, there's tons of stuff going on. So I don't even know where to start with this, dude. I don't know where you want to tap into this. I know exactly where I'm going to start. What do we got here? Big old fat stogie. That's where we're going to start, dude. First week back at training. I'm sore as a mother bleeper. I can't swear in the first 30 seconds of the show anymore. They won't let us ever get monetized. So, has it been 30 seconds?
Yeah,
I'm sore as a motherfucker, dude. I'm sore as a motherfucker. My calves, my hands, back to training this week. Everything hurts. All the pain that I forgot about because I train year round.
Yeah. Right?
So I'm always sore, but the kind of first sore that you get when you take a long time off, I haven't felt that in a while.
But even if you've like kept in shape throughout sort of thing, been working, been exercising, you know, you've still lost your wrestling cardio. You've still lost like that layer of protection your body seems to get after a few weeks of rolling, where you're not covered in bruises and your body's like, all right, there's no, this is going to keep happening to me. There's no point in making bruises anymore.
And it's amazing how quick you lose it.
Yeah.
I mean, I train year round, right? So it's weird that you can train, you know, even if you're casual, right? Just a couple times a week, that type of thing. If you're regularly doing that and you think about doing that for years, you know, you have your periodic breaks, you have your vacations and stuff like that. But you're like, surely you're immune to like a month. But you're not, man. You lose it quick. I was sparring yesterday and we were all, you know, we haven't sparred in so long, right? And then we all decided that defense was for idiots. And we haven't sparred so long, so we just started broing down. I woke up this morning, my forehead was so sore, which is not a good sign because that means I got punched way more than I should have. My leg was
you've got
sore.
CTE now.
Exactly. But it was fun. It was fun to get back in there and do it again. So for all of you guys in Singapore, at least, if you're back to training, good for you. You know, we're still restricted quite heavily. We're only allowed to train with one other partner, which kind of sucks, but it's still good to be back in there. So to all my peeps in Singapore who are back to training, tell us your stories. Let us know. How you feeling this week? Because I'm feeling like shit, dude.
The worst thing that goes is, and it takes the longest time to build back up. Like cardio, I reckon you can get your cardio back on to a reasonable point in what, 1-2 weeks?
Do you mind opening that window, or I'm going to smoke
No,
this bitch up and just reach over there. Sorry. But yeah, the cardio.
But
Yeah, the cardio is the first thing to go. You know what else goes, dude? Is the timing. Timing, I feel like when I'm boxing now, and I haven't boxed in a while, even in jiu-jitsu, right? Like that timing you hit when you're trying to shift the weight of someone's body, and then like, you know, you rock them one way, and then you're waiting for that counter pressure, and then right then you go. Like that timing is gone.
Yeah.
The cardio's gone. The strength is still there, but I don't know, man. It's
but
just,
you can get all those things back in 1-2 weeks. Like not top level, but like to a level where you're not gassed after every session, you're not wanting to vomit. But your flexibility goes so quickly and takes forever, like 6 months to get back. That's the annoying one.
Yeah, I know. We were even doing, like I said, we were doing that sparring yesterday and a little bit of kick sparring and stuff today. My hips are so tight. Like, you know, I used to be able to just kick everybody in the gym's head, even like some of our tall guys over 6 feet. I could throw the head kick and everything. Man, I throw that head kick today, and like the wishbone pop, and I'm like, oh, lower back hurt, and I'm like, oh, this is a bad sign.
So I was just messing around with my daughter on the mats because I've not done jiu-jitsu this week apart from that, and I went to like, you know, sort of regain my guard, head over the shoulder sort of thing. I can do that. I can get my head, like my legs all the way over my shoulder, flat on my back, and sort of flip round. Well, I say I can. I could do that.
You could.
Yeah. Tried doing it the other day. My back was like...
Before the lockdown, you could.
Oh, yeah. Before lockdown, no worries. Yesterday, box, no.
What was that?
I watch.
Oh,
sometimes.
It's like, Jesus, that was a sexy-ass voice. I don't know. Jesus, man, I need to get that voice into my head at night.
I have a theory that anyone who has their, like, Ciryl set to, you know, like that posh male British voice, they're in some kinky shit.
What about the female version of it, though?
Yeah, maybe a mistress complex there.
I feel like the female Ciryl likes it rough. You know what I mean? I feel like that.
No, not the British one. No, she's more a dominatrix, I feel.
Nah, that's a front, dude. You know what I mean? Those posh people, it's the exterior, but behind closed doors, they like it a little weird.
Freaky.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my suspicion about some android robotic voice. Anyway, dude, let's fucking get some common sense going on in this podcast. So, should we start with the UFC, man?
Yeah, Ciryl Gane.
Yeah, let's pull up the fight card, man, because it was a weird one. The fight card was a weird one. Some surprisingly good fights, some fights that weren't amazing, but if you look at the main event there, Ciryl Gane, he beat Alexander Volkov in a pretty close fight. But I thought that Ciryl Gane is now tied, I believe, with
6-0.
6-0,
Yeah.
which I think
6. Yeah.
ties the record, which Ngannou holds right now for the longest active win streak in the heavyweight division. Everybody's already chirping about maybe having Ciryl Gane fight John Jones. No. Why not? Why not?
Well, I'll tell you why not, because what I saw the Gane fight today, he spent an awful lot of time with both his hands down by his side, not exactly looking like he had the greatest defence in the world.
His striking defense is good, though, but the grappling is where you got to worry. That's where John has an advantage over everybody in the heavyweight division. It'd be tough to imagine him not being able to take down someone else. Okay, so if you're Dana White, okay, so Ciryl Gane needs somebody. So already you have Ngannou tied up with Derek Lewis. I think they're 1-2.
Yeah.
Or champion, and no, actually Stipe is still the #1 contender technically, but I think Derek Lewis is the second top contender.
That's the fight they say they're trying to make, Lewis
I think it's already done.
The first one was so good.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a fan of that, but a lot of people are. I think they've already decided that fight's happening next. So then you could potentially do Ciryl Gane versus Stipe. Or you could do John versus Ciryl Gane. I mean, that's pretty much it, unless you just want to have John wait.
I just don't think Gane's ready yet. I think he's got potential and he could get to the top, but I definitely don't see him beating John. I wouldn't fancy him against Derek Lewis or Ngannou.
You wouldn't fancy him against Derek Lewis? I think Ciryl Gane will be Derek Lewis. Unless he gets knocked out. But, man, this kickboxing is good. This kickboxing is real good. Derek Lewis has never been technical. He just has that. By the way, I found the next Derek Lewis. Can you pull up the fight card? This is a slight tangent, but this guy, Kennedy Njoku, I think is what his name is. This guy is like the welterweight Derek Lewis. He's an African fighter who his last 2 fights he's been down 2 rounds, and then he somehow has found a way in the 3rd round to finish people. This guy's amazing. If you're listening or if you watch the fights and you haven't, right there at the top of the card right there, Kennedy Njoku, he's amazing. He fought this guy. This guy had him down 2 rounds, and it was the same person. Can you bring up his Wikipedia page?
Yeah.
His last 2 fights, I think, were 3rd round KOs. This guy's absolutely amazing. He kind of is a slow starter, a little bit like Cowboy. And then somehow in the 3rd round, he's come back and he's won these fights. And for whatever reason, he's been in the prelims for the last couple fights, but for whatever reason, I caught him. And this guy just looks absolutely amazing late. He's one of those guys that can rally late.
Power.
Yeah, you got it there? Let's see what we got. So he lost to Paul Craig. No shame. Paul Craig, was he a light heavyweight before? Can you go to the right? Oh, by triangle, man. Speaking of, how about Paul Craig? So I guess he's gone down a weight class. Because Paul Craig's a 205er, right?
Yeah, he's not a heavyweight.
But this is at welterweight, I believe. So he must have. Can you go up and see what weight class he's in? He's a welterweight, right? It should be at the top on the right there. Yeah, it should say light heavyweight. Yeah,
205. Yeah.
But then that's it. Okay, so he's heavier. But there's no shame losing to Paul Craig. We talked about that dislocated arm last week of Hill.
Well, we did, but no one saw it.
Oh, yeah, because we had... So, if you're listening to this and you're wondering where the podcast has been the last 2 weeks, well, we recorded one, but it got pulled down for child abuse or some shit.
Not literal child abuse, just so we're clear.
Oh, my God. But this is the second time Jake and I have posted a podcast up, and it's gotten pulled down for child endangerment. I'm getting sick and tired of YouTube telling me that my MMA podcast is somehow child endangerment. And I've gone through the rules and regulations on YouTube to see what exactly qualifies as child endangerment. And all it talks about is showing children like getting beaten, getting this, getting that. When have I ever showed that on this podcast? When? Never. 2 times the podcast has gotten pulled down for child endangerment. One of them was a podcast with Charmaine, my wife, who's not a fucking child. And the other one was just a podcast where we were breaking out fight cards.
Yep.
Second time. YouTube is killing me, man. Some of this stuff that we get pulled down for, I just can't figure it out. So there was one that was up last week that got pulled down for child endangerment, where we talked about the fights from the previous week, which included Paul Craig's nasty arm break on Jeremiah Hill, which was nasty. That shit was dislocated and back behind his arm. Paul Craig has just probably got the nastiest guard in jiu-jitsu at the moment. So, but anyway, this Kennedy Njoku guy, he's good. He's you could tell he's raw. He's still pretty green, but he finds a way, like Derek Lewis, to come back late in those fights. And so he fought today. It was a pretty good one. Let's break down the rest of that card, dude, because there were some other bangers on there. Andre Fili had a rough go. He looked as good as he's ever looked. Yeah. He looked amazing. He landed like 3 head kicks in the first round. And then there was a nasty eye poke that happened, and the referee was like, "How many fingers am I holding up?" And he was like, 7. And he's like, "No, this is 1 hand. I can't allow you to continue."
But he was obviously didn't know, because he did it twice. And the first time it was like, "How many fingers?" 1. And they were like, "Oh, yeah. Let him try. Maybe you can't count. Let him try again."
But it was also weird, right? Because they didn't give him the full time. Like, why do they have the 5-minute time limit if they're going to call it a minute and a half in? His vision may recover. If you put some anti-swell on it, you give him some time, maybe in 5 minutes he can continue. I don't know, but that was a bummer. But Andre Fili looked amazing. He looked really, really good. In the co-main event, what was the co-main event on this? Bozer and the Canadian guy, Tanner Bozer and OSP, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Tanner Bozer looked good. I mean, he's obviously like the best Canadian heavyweight. It's good to see a Canadian guy getting in there and getting a good win. I thought it was a little bit of an early stoppage, but pretty good fight. And then we had the rest filling out the main card. We had the Andre Fili fight. And then, can you pull that up on the main there for me, Jake? Okay. Oh, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. Go up a little bit. So mark my words on this. These two guys are going to be contenders pretty soon in the bantamweight division. You have the Dagestani, and fucking another one, dude. I'm going to do a video, I think. Jake,
you've just got to think your concept through a little bit more.
I know. Jake, because I want to do a video talking about like the Dagestani, Muslim, Middle Eastern fighters, because a lot of our audience are those guys. All of my best videos in this entire podcast have been videos about Muslim fighters. So I was like, okay, let me do a video talking about that. But I don't know how to do it and not be racist. So I'm not sure how to label it. I'm not sure how, but we'll get there. We'll figure it out. But pull it up for me again. So this guy looks amazing. Timur Valiev. He looked really good. And the guy that he fought, Heuni Barcelos, man, these two guys look good. This fight was razor close. Their technique is absolutely on point. Timur trains with Frankie Edgar in Tom's, New Jersey, and with what's his name, Ricardo Almeida, and that whole team out there. This guy looks really good. Both of them, those are going to be contenders in that bantamweight division, guarantee it. And if you are a Middle Eastern fighter fan, if you're a Muslim fighter fan, you got another one. You got another top Dagestani fighter. I mean, dude, between Khabib and Muslim, and you got the King Kung Fu, you got this guy, you got Askar Askarov, who went to a draw with Brandon Moreno in the flyweight division. I mean, dude, these Dagestani fighters are just absolutely special. They are ridiculous. There's so many. And I think if you go through every division in the UFC, there's at least one or two like Dagestani, Middle Eastern, Russian fighters in the top 10 or top 15. It's crazy. It's crazy. That part of the world is just that shit's going to be like the NBA in the Middle East pretty soon. Like if you're from that region, if you're from the Middle East, if you're from Dagestan, man, that is going to be like the NBA of that part of the world. And it's really great to see because you got another one. This guy's fantastic. And then rounding out that card, who else we got here? Was that it for the main card? What's the welterweight fight? Just a little bit below. Tim Means, another guy, and Moicano. They both look good. Tim Means look really good. He's 38 years old. He's just salty veteran. He's been in the game for a long time. I think they say he's got 22. He's the 50th fighter ever to log like 4 hours of fight time in the cage. I don't know if it's 4 hours, whatever it is, some ridiculous number. 37 years old, 20-something fights in the UFC, still doing the damn thing, still look good. His striking is nasty. And this barely even scratches the surface for the fights that we've had today. We're just touching. Still got you had Bellator, the PFL, you had Kayla Harrison, who totally looks like she's probably outside of Amanda Nunes, the best female fighter in the world, fighting for the PFL. She's definitely UFC ready. Anthony Pettis lost another heart stopper. If you're an Anthony Pettis fan, it's been a rough go over there in PFL. He's 0-2. Lost another one, a split decision. Another fight where he looked good and he hurt the guy, but just can't quite get over the hump. You know, it seems like he's probably about ready to retire, I'd say. And then you had all the bare knuckle stuff. I mean, there's just tons and tons of fights. There was also a Bellator card. Right. Rory McDonald got robbed against Gleison Tebow. I don't know if you... Dude, there's too many fights to even...
Wait, was that Bellator? I thought he left Bellator. Was that PFL?
Maybe that was PFL.
Yeah, I think it was.
Can you check for me? Because I think there was a Bellator card also over the last week or something like that. Dude, there's been fights every day. And then I think there's also a few more fights coming up. Lomachenko fought today. He looked really amazing. He fought a Japanese guy who's really good, who was undefeated other than a decision loss to Timofeo Lopez, who beat Lomachenko in his last fight. It looks like they're going to do another rematch maybe at the end of the year, and that's going to be a pound-for-pound top debate because that first fight that Lopez had with Lomachenko was super close. Boxing is good. Man, have you ever seen Lomachenko fight?
Yeah,
I know you're not as big a boxing fan as you are like an MMA fan, but, man, I've never seen anybody with angles and pivots as good as Lomachenko. If you're a boxer and you're not watching Lomachenko, everybody's got their own style. Like Canelo's got slick head movement, brutal combination attacks, really fast twitch, but Defense is solid. Head movement's amazing. But, man, Lomachenko's ability to pivot and land strikes off of finding dominant angles from a pivot is just absolutely incredible. He switches his stance, hard body attacks. So he won. He knocked out this Japanese fighter. I can't remember his name, but knocked him out. Looked really, really good. And just tons of fights. You get anything on this Bellator?
I'm trying to find Bellator's site. Apparently they don't have one.
Really? They must.
Yeah, no, I can't find it.
But whatever, man. There's just too many fights for us to even cover in this brief little podcast. Let's
wait. While we're doing fights,
sure.
Did you see the wacky ass finish in the BJJ today with Hulk?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh,
What was it? Was it one of those submission underground things?
let me make sure.
Can you pull it up for me? With Barboza, right? The Hulk?
Yeah. Basically, he won a fight that he was choked unconscious in.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, show me. Show me. This is
on
too
it.
much to keep up. I literally spent 4 hours watching fights today. And still I can't keep up with everything. If you're a fight fan, it's a good time to be a fight fan, but also good luck keeping up with that. If you want to keep up with one, if you want to keep up with Bellator, PFL, the UFC, if you want to keep up with boxing and jiu-jitsu and all the combats, bare knuckle. Also, have you seen this Jorge Masvidal's new promotion?
No.
It's bare knuckle MMA. It's called Game Bred Fight Championship or something like that. It's actually quite interesting. What's the guy's name? Hick Diaz. Jason Knight. you ever heard of Hick Diaz? He's awesome. I love this guy. He fought Charles Bennett. Remember Charles the Felon? Charles.
Yes.
That's his
Yeah,
nickname.
Crazy
Charles
Horse.
Bennett. Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Crazy Horse. And but it was really fascinating. And here's why I think bare knuckle MMA is fascinating, because this is new. There's no other bare knuckle MMA association. I think it's interesting for the jiu-jitsu people. Also the bare knuckle boxing fans, all that stuff, because when you grapple with no gloves on, it's a game changer. So I'm really quite curious to see how that changes the game when you're moving forward, because for anybody here that's either fought MMA or has trained MMA in MMA gloves and tried to do jiu-jitsu like you would in your normal gym, it's extremely different. I mean, of course, you can still punch on the ground and all that stuff, but the fatness of the gloves makes it so hard to both pull out of stuff, sometimes set stuff up. If a guy gets a grip on your thumb when you're going for a choke with that fat fucking glove, it's almost impossible to get it out. And so it's quite interesting watching MMA when they're bare knuckle, because a lot of those, it reminded me of those old King of Pancrase.
Yeah.
Like with Boss Rutan and Frank Shamrock, because they would just do those open hand slaps. But in this one, you can still punch, you can still do everything, and I really think it might be interesting for the submission grapplers in the future to be able to have a fight league where they go in and it's completely bare knuckle. Going to be a game changer when you're slapping on chokes and trying to defend submissions and all that kind of stuff. But Jason Knight ended up winning that fight, and I'm curious to see how Jorge Masvidal's promotion does in the future.
Like he completely changed it, like you say, because the glove limits your like the range of motion in your hand as well. So you're gonna be able to do way more stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy. It's so much easier to defend chokes when you can get that fat glove.
Yeah.
When you could normally just slip it in nice and quick if you're training barehanded in the gym. That's why all of the best MMA fighters train their jiu-jitsu with MMA gloves on, because it's such a game changer. It's like it changes so much, and then of course all the strikes and everything else changes. But so I thought that, and that was also on this past week. I mean, there were literally 8 different fight cards from like however many different promotions on. I don't even know if one was on. I don't know when the last one was.
They had cards set up and all that, but they had to stop them because they were all supposed to happen here.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're going.
So what do we got? You say you were
going
going
to see this?
Yeah, let's see what we got here.
So this is so it gone into overtime. So like I think it was the equivalent, you know, like in EBI where you get, if it goes to a draw, then you've got overtime. I think I'm right in saying that.
Yeah.
And then this happened.
All right, let's see. So it looks like he's got him in a rear naked choke here. Who's he fighting? Can you read out the names there?
Yeah. Give me 1 sec. I'll bring it out. So he's out. You can see.
So it's Hulk, it's Barboza, and
I'll have to see who's going.
that was a delayed unconsciousness. Wow, look at that. Okay, so who do we got here? Is there?
Sorry, but then Hulk gets it on the win. Hulk gets it.
Wait,
victory.
what? Wait,
Yeah.
so what happened here?
So
who's fighting? We got Hulk and we got. Is there another name in there?
let me sort the cameras out.
I'm curious who Lukas Hulk Barboza, right? So if you're listening to this podcast, it seemed like was Barboza the one in the choke just now?
Yeah.
So it seemed like the guy had him in a rear naked choke, and he was still kind of moving, and then they got separated, and then he went out. I mean, I don't exactly know what I was...
Patrick...
Gaudio.
Gaudio,
Okay,
yeah.
Patrick Gaudio. Okay, versus Hulk Barboza. Okay, so you saw this. Is that pretty much what happened? Just describe what we saw there.
So, I obviously saw it on Gordon Ryan's Instagram feed, 'cause he was shit-talking it
Gordon
straight away.
Yeah.
So then I looked at it, but I only saw the ending. But I think it went into overtime, and then basically in the overtime, he was choked unconscious, but it was right at the end of the overtime. The ref didn't see it, and then they gave him the victory on points, and they didn't count the submission.
Oh, okay. So the time expired when he was like pretty much out. He was like, it looked like. Can you pull it up again? It looked like that video you had earlier. It looked like he was about. You know when you get, for any of the people listening to this, I'm sure if you train jiu-jitsu, you've been in that situation where, and you learn this as you train more and more and more, that like I never tap to a choke unless I'm getting the tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know that once I start getting that tunnel vision, it's a little bit of a delayed reaction, right? Tunnel vision means I'm like 1 or 2 seconds from going out. So I don't tap unless I get that, because then I know I'm fucked, right? If I feel that tunnel vision, then I know I'm screwed.
There is nothing worse than actually going out and then you wake up and everybody's looking at you.
And you're just
and
like,
you're like, what?
And you're like, ooh, did you guys see that? What is it worse than I thought? What happened? Because I was just napping. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So it looked like that's what happened, right? Because if you tap, I've done this before actually. I've tapped before when I've gotten the tunnel vision, and then like once I'm released, I'm like you still go a little deeper for a second or two.
Yeah.
Right, like the vision starts to close in, and then right when they release, it still closes in for another second or two, and then the world starts to open back up, and you're like, oh shit, what was that? So it seemed like that's happening. Let's see if we can...
I'll read the description. So what it says is,
Okay, sure.
ahead on points, Lukas Barboza got put to sleep right at the end of the match with Mateus Dins. But did the ref call time late?
Oh, it was Mateus Dennis, the Marcelo
Yeah, that's
guy.
what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But did the ref call time late, and did Dins hold on to the choke longer than he should have, is what they're basically saying on there. So then this is what happens. So this is right at the end of the match, basically.
All right, well, let's see this thing again. Because, can you make it big? Is it possible? Yeah, there you go. I mean, he doesn't even have the left hook in. He's only got one hook in.
But he's pointing, he's out.
Is there a time? Is there a time on that?
No, I can't see the time. That's the annoying bit.
Oh, he's out. He's out for sure. Look at him. Oh, he's out. Oh, he's out, man. And so they gave him the win.
Yeah, look, and then they give him.
So they gave Barboza the win, even though he was out at the end of that regulation.
Yep.
That's weird. What did Gordon say?
And then Gordon says,
What did Gordon say?
wait, did Hulk just get strangled completely unconscious, then somehow win? Then flex and beat his chest after knowing he just got strangled unconscious. WTF did I just watch?
Fair point. But it's kind of weird, right? Because if you're in the UFC, that's a technical submission. If you choke somebody, right? If I'm choking you and the time expires and I release you and you're unconscious, that's a win.
Yeah. It's a weird one.
That I did not see that. Man, there's just a lot of stuff to keep up with. This week. Plus, for everybody back in Singapore, they all know that people are back to training again. People are trying to get back into the grind. And if everybody here has been sat around for 6 weeks, I don't know. You seem like you were pretty busy still. You got family and kids. Were you still exercising over the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, I had to. Otherwise, I go insane. But there's only so much you can do as well. Like, you get so bored of doing kettlebells after a while. You're like, oh, God, what else going to do anything but this?
Yeah.
So, like, the kettlebells were all right. Went skateboarding a lot. We've got a trampoline in our back garden, so that counts as cardio. Just bounce on that for an hour with the kids and you're knackered. Oh, and then I tell you what my dumbass did try. I got so sick of doing kettlebells, I couldn't take it anymore, and lifting weights. So I saw a video about how you should crawl, and it's really, really good for your strength and conditioning.
Like bear crawls?
Yeah, bear crawls. And it said do it for 5 minutes. Now, you can easily bear crawl for 5 minutes. It's not a problem. But the next day, I was in so much pain in my shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I do not recommend that at all whatsoever.
Well, that's one of the ones I feel from the boxing, too, because boxing is so shoulder heavy, just keeping your hands up over and over again, that after I hit the mitts for the first time in a month and a half today, I was just like, or 2 days ago, I was like, oh, no, dude, everything. And, you know, it leads up to your traps, it leads up to your neck. Triceps are sore, your lats also get it because those punching muscles when you turn over your punch are all coming from the back and the lat. I mean, I felt all the soreness in places that I haven't felt it in a long time just this week. And then I realized something. I realized how difficult it is if you're a person that doesn't train or if you're a person that's taken a long break, how much more difficult it is to come back than it is to maintain. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know that. Like, everybody kind of knows that, like, oh, yeah, when you're...
Yeah, everyone's surprised by it.
But if you're, you know, maybe, at least in my example, I'm usually training year-round to some degree. You know, less than others and more than others maybe, but I'm doing something pretty much year-round. So I don't have those long extended breaks, especially when I'm working 6 days a week in a gym.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just always doing something. And then afterward, I'm like, oh, man, this is an uphill slog. Just getting the body used to the training again, doing everything, prioritizing the time. Like, the other thing is my sleep was fucked up again for the whole week because I was like going to bed at a normal time and doing my normal thing, and then back to work again. I'm training until 9:30, and then I'm home at 11, eating dinner at 11:30, and then I'm just like, plus I just trained, so I'm like wired. I'm like up till 2 o'clock in the morning thinking about the moves that I screwed up and how sore I am and running through the training sessions. You know how you do that stuff, right, when you haven't done it in a while. And then so the sleep was rough, and then the body was aching, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm just being a bitch, dude. If someone else was having this conversation with me, I'd be like, quit being a pussy.
Yeah, just suck it up, get on with it, don't worry about it. I don't know, but everything's really sore and it hurts.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I haven't felt this in a while. I'll tell you what was nice, the 6 weeks off.
Yeah.
Because I realized after having so much time off, I actually was maybe going a little bit too hard and for too long, and was kind of burning the candle at both ends, because after 6 weeks, I was like, you know what? Didn't even really miss it that much. It was kind of nice to have that time off. Maybe I need to, it's been a grind for 2 years since we opened up Stronghold, so maybe I need to actually dial it back just a little bit, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's important. You don't realise when you're in the middle of it, like when you've got stuff going on and you're in the thick of it and you're going through it, it's not till you actually stop that you realise, oh yeah, I'm exhausted. Like, I'm absolutely worn out. I need a break.
Yeah, and I'm not the only one I've heard say that. I've heard a few people tell me that. I mean, I'm in a group with a bunch of savages, right? Like all the people that train with me, my friend, like Ron, Steven, a bunch of professional fighters, major guys that own gyms in Singapore. I've heard this multiple times. Because yeah, when you're in that loop of training and doing this constantly, and you're just in that grind, you don't really see it. But when you can separate and you see it from a fresh lens of perspective, when you're locked and forced to be inside, you're kind of like, man, maybe need a little bit of that work-life balance.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very useful thing to have in life. I definitely find that it's important, especially like as you get older. Like I've got kids as well and stuff like that, and you know I don't do the same thing as you, but I do teach, and it's tiring, like dealing with those people all the time and stuff like that, and then it stops, and you're like, oh yeah, actually this is what normalcy is like, and I don't have to deal with like 50 people a day, just a few.
Well, I feel like if the pandemic has taught people anything, if there's wisdom to be gleaned from it, which of course there is, it would be that it does offer you a little bit of perspective about this sort of loop that you're in your normal day-to-day grind. And so when you can't travel, when you're forced to be inside all the time and you have to really, really modify your lifestyle, you have to stay inside more, you don't have all the freedoms that you would typically have, it does kind of make you reevaluate things a little bit from a perspective that you would know. I mean, I've never had 6 weeks off.
Yeah.
Since I started working, in my entire adult life, I've never had, who has 6 weeks off?
I mean, me, but.
Teachers are the only bastards that actually manage to get that time off. Okay, so that's not true, because when I was a teacher, I did sometimes have 6 weeks off. Okay, so I'll amend my statement, because I have had that periodically. But most humans do not have the luxury of having, you know, you get your 2-3 week holiday, whatever it is that each person has. And it does help you think, and it does help you reevaluate something. I also learned some other things. One, if I'm not working, and this is the sort of double-edged sword of all this, if I'm not working, I'm useless. I literally just sat around. I can't get like independently motivated when I'm not in the routine. When I'm in the routine, I stay clean. Like I'm not drinking as much. I'm not screwing around as much. I'm not doing other stuff as much. But then once I'm working again, then I felt right back into the groove, and all of a sudden I'm working way more and I'm motivated. And so, I guess but conversely, Steven Langdown, he was sober the whole lockdown. Guy drinks like a fish. But then he was like, "Oh, we're locked inside. I'm gonna get sober." I'm like, "I went the other way, dude. I went completely
that is
the
not
other
the way to go." Like,
I know.
For sure.
I know. I was like, "How are you more motivated when you're forced to be inside than when you're like working and you're in the?" But he just stopped drinking. I was like, "Man, that's amazing. That's super impressive."
There is a lot to be said for getting up and having something to do every day, like going to work and having a job. It does stop you from like falling into your vices of being like, "Oh well," be it, "I'm going to drink a lot of beer tonight," be it, "Oh, I'm going to binge watch this series."
Speaking
till
of,
2 a.m. No, it's Sunday. Sundays don't count. It's fine. But like, it does stop you from going into those vices, like playing video games till all hours. If you
that's exactly what I did the whole fucking quarantine, the whole second one. I played the Mass Effect trilogy the whole time. I beat 1, 2, and 3. I also beat Resident Evil 2. I've just been playing PS5 basically the whole 6 weeks that we were off. I regret 0 seconds of it. I regret nothing, dude. Nothing.
So I've made a fatal error on Friday. They just launched the remastered version of Tony Hawk 1 and 2 on the Switch.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was probably clinically addicted to that game when I was at university. There used to be like tournaments and stuff like that.
I remember when that game was fire in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on the PS2, I think.
So I've got some great memories in life. I got married, like the kids and stuff like that. One of my fondest memories that I can recall quite easily is I won a Tony Hawk Pro 2 tournament at university.
I won't
I
ask you to rank which is the most significant moment of your life: the birth of your child, your marriage, or winning a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 tournament. I'll spare you and your family that that ranking.
But it's one of those bizarre memories that absolutely ingrained. Like I remember it very, very clearly. It's such a strange thing, but it's because you can stack combos on it and stuff like that. So basically, I got all the way to the final, and then I had a shocker in the final, and I was losing by a lot of points. And then the time hit 0, and I started stacking a combo, and it just did not stop, and then the score starts multiplying. I came out of the combo and landed it. The score flashed up, and I was like, there was no way I could win. But I did, because I stacked up this massive combo.
Best moment of your life. You were like, yeah!
No, but not just me. It was so bizarre. Like, it was just impossible, basically. And obviously, the people watching the tournament weren't exactly like the hippest people on the face of the planet. And everyone just erupted and went crazy. It was bizarre.
What do you think has... And when I actually started this podcast, I kind of envisioned it being like partly video game related because I'm a huge gamer. Outside of martial arts training, gaming is like my second favorite hobby. I mean, martial arts training is now my job, so
yeah. So actually,
it still seems weird. It still seems weird to me that it's my job. To be honest, it still feels kind of like it did when it wasn't my job, but I guess technically it is. So maybe now it's my favorite hobby because martial arts is now my job. But yeah, I always thought it would kind of be like that because I wonder what the pandemic has done to the video game industry. I mean, it must just be all-time high. People sitting, like, even as I'm scrolling through my Instagram, doing all that, people are all sharing gaming videos, and YouTube, I have a lot of, gaming channels that I follow. I just bet that industry has skyrocketed over the last year.
Yeah, and the worst bit is we're too old to actually know what's going on half the time. Like, have you seen the clips of the dudes doing like Breath of the Wild?
I saw somebody speed run Breath of the Wild in 21 minutes.
Yeah.
21 minutes. That means they went from the very beginning of the game to beat it in 21 minutes. That's ridiculous. It's like the world record speed run. I just watched this video like 2 days ago. The combos that they're doing. You beat Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing those stasis bounces and shit where they jump on the rock and it launches them halfway across the fucking map and perfect accuracy to land in like this tiny window to pick up. And I'm just like, to get that good must take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours
that people had free in a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they spend their time coming up with mad moves on like Breath of the Wild and all these other games, and now we go down the rabbit hole of watching the videos of this.
I watched a video of if you played the Pokemon games, you must have.
Yeah.
Some of them. I watched somebody do a Nuzlocke, a Pokemon Nuzlocke. Do you know what that is? You never heard of a Nuzlocke?
No, what's that?
Oh man, Nuzlocks are great. The next Pokemon game that comes out, I'm gonna do my first one. Maybe I'll fucking live stream it. Who knows? But so a Nuzlocke, it's fucking hilarious, right? A Nuzlocke is a way that you play, because they're usually pretty easy. They're made for kids. Like you can beat a Pokemon game and never die, right? Because you just know the type differences and all that kind of shit. So basically, the rules for a Nuzlocke are, you can only catch the first Pokemon that's in any region that you're in.
Yeah.
Right? You have to give it a name so that you're emotionally attached to it, right? This is the critical one. You've got to give it a nickname so that way you have emotional attachment to it. And then it's permadeath. So if any of them die, they're gone. And the fact that they make you name it so that way you have this personal attachment to it is ridiculous. And so that alone is hard enough, right? Because then anytime one dies, you have to go through the whole process of catching another one, and you can only get one, and then you've got to level it up. Because every gym that you go to is going to be a level spike, and if any one of them die, you've got to get a new one and get them all the way up there. And then not only was it that, but it was with only shiny Pokemon. And a shiny is like 1 in 8,000 something chance.
Yeah.
So do you know how they get the shiny Pokemon? They reset the console every single time they don't get one. So if there's a random encounter, and they will sit there, they'll do 1,000 resets until the Pokemon they get up is shiny. And their whole team was shiny, and it was a Nuzlocke. I mean, the amount of hours that somebody spends doing this just absolutely blows my mind. And I'm not going to go that crazy.
No.
But I kind of like the idea of doing a Nuzlocke because I just feel like all the most recent ones are way too easy.
Yeah,
but I watched somebody do this, and I'm just like, that is just the amount of dedication. I mean, I think the one that I'm talking about, there were 20,000 resets. He would do like 20-hour streams in a row. Like, you know how you pick the first Pokemon at the very beginning?
Yeah.
Like, let's say you pick Bulbasaur.
Yep.
Okay. There's a 1 in 9,000 chance that one of those Bulbasaur is going to be shiny. So you're like, hello, Professor Oak.
No.
Click. Nope, not it. Reset.
No.
Nope, not it. Reset. Nope, not it. Reset. And then one of the times, he got the shiny Pokemon, but you get so into the routine of resetting that he fucking missed it. He missed it completely. So he's in the routine of like, oh, missed it, reset. Oh, missed it, reset. Oh, missed it. And he's talking on the chat, and the shiny one pops up, and he resets. Everybody in the chat's like, no! And it was like, this is how nerdy I am. It was like one of the most dramatic things I've ever seen in my life. I was literally sitting there like, no, I can't believe he missed it. And then he's got to spend another 16 hours resetting. I mean, it's just absolutely mental. If these people applied that level of tenacity to other things in their life, like...
I often think that way about my time at university, though, because as we've established, I played so much Tony Hawk, I could pull off like 10,000 move combos in it if I needed to.
Is that the game you've played the most of any other game? Is Tony Hawk? If you had to pick, what do you put the most hours in?
Either Tony Hawk, Pro Evolution Soccer, or any of the Metal Gear games would be me for sure. Like until recently, and then Zelda as well, Breath of the Wild. I think I spent at least 5 months on that before I completed it.
Attaboy.
Because I just didn't want to. I was just like, oh, let's explore some more.
I know. I've learned something about myself gaming over the last few years, and the first thing I learned is that like when I beat a game, I'm just done.
Yeah.
I can't go back. So I've got to do all the side shit. I've got to do every single side quest because once that shit's done, I just can't get motivated to go back in. So I take all the time and I do all. In the Mass Effect trilogy, I think I beat, at least in the second and the third one, I beat every single side quest. Have you played those?
No.
Because your character's perma-die. Like if you're not prepared, if you don't do like the companion quests and you don't do certain stuff, they die. And then like, so it's through a trilogy. So you can have a character that dies in game 1 that doesn't exist in game 3, or that character can live all the way through, and then you have all their dialogue trees and all that stuff. So I did every single side quest. And I was just like, but you know what's crazy? All those YouTube videos of people do it, they get millions of views.
Yeah.
Like they've literally turned this into a total industry where you can make money putting up these videos for your gaming feeds.
If like some dodgy guy pulled up to my kids in like a van that looked really, really seedy and said like, do you want to come in the back of this van and watch some Minecraft videos? My kids would be like, oh yeah.
That's not good.
Not good at all, but that's like how they're into like Minecraft videos. And then you look at the views the Minecraft videos have got. It's just some dude walking, like I don't understand Minecraft, I've got no interest in it. Just some dude walking around going like, oh, I'm digging for diamonds.
If your kids grew up and they were like, because inevitably they're going to be addicted to YouTube and that game, like, especially boys, right?
Yep.
These young boys, if I'm on the train or I'm doing whatever, they're always looking at video game things, Fortnite and whatever, Minecraft, all that shit, right? If they were like, okay, I want to do this as a career, if you could actually teach them to put the work into it, like you could straight up make money doing this now. Yeah. You can straight up make this a career, like a professional, whether you're streaming, whether you're like one of those Dota people who plays competitively, Call of Duty, whatever the hell it is. Like, what would you say? Would you be like, would you be one of those old school people who's like, this is not a real career?
No,
or would you be like, you better do this?
Well into it. I'd be like, you're doing this properly. We are getting you a gaming rig. You're going to put the hours in. Because there's teams and stuff like that, professional teams, and you look, and they're like sports teams. They don't just sit about playing video games all day. Obviously, they do a lot of that. But, like, they do, like, team building exercises. They keep in shape and things like that. So I'd be like, yeah, go for it.
And at a certain point, it's work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's say you're like a Smash Brothers team, right? You're or not team, because it's a single player. I mean, you can't do teams, but let's say you're like a Smash Bros professional.
Yeah.
Once you get to the point where you're at that level, it's not fun anymore, right? Like, that's a job. To be that good, like, at that point, it's really, really a job. So I kind of feel like it's the same. If you can dedicate whatever a normal person works, let's say you're a normal person that works 8 hours a day. When you get your lunch break and you do all that shit. If you're willing to play a video game for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, that's a job. Yep. Like, you lose like, even me with jiu-jitsu, I love jiu-jitsu. It's all I think about. Martial arts, more specifically, right? But at a certain point, when you put 10,000 hours in, it's not like it was when you first started it. Like, you still have, even though you love it, you still have those days where you're like, oh, I got to go do this thing. And then you do it. And other days it's more easy. And other days it's a bit of a grind. And
I told the story on the podcast, on another podcast that got pulled down when Stephen made it. The reason I got into martial arts was because music was my hobby. And then music was what I did to relax. And then music became my job. And suddenly this thing that I loved, and I used to do all the time, like if I was in a bad mood, I'd do some music or something like that. That suddenly my hobby became a full-time job, and doing music was no longer any fun for me at all whatsoever. It was just work and stress and hassle. So I needed something else to do, and that's why I got into like martial arts, because I needed a hobby that I could enjoy that wasn't my job.
Yeah, it is like that. It does get like that. So at a certain point, I feel like you just have to respect the grind. I mean, really, nowadays, like, your kids can do whatever they want if they just put the actual work into it. If they treat it like a job and they do what people that have a job do, which is that, like, no matter what, you allocate this amount of time to whatever it is you're going to do. Man, the opportunities compared to, like, when we were kids for all of this stuff, like, you imagine telling your parents when you're, like, 18 years old, I want to be a professional Tony Hawk player.
I'm really, really good at it.
They'd be like, get the fuck out of here. This is not how I raised you. You'd be like a massive disappointment.
Like university video games, you'd gone beyond your 2D platform Super Mario Brothers, and you did have things like Quake, and you could play, like, link all the computers together.
There were a few things that you could do.
Yeah, but, like, the universities and stuff like that, like, the bar would hold a tournament every now and again, and, like, it'd be 2-player split screen and stuff like that. But the idea that you could do that and make money and make a living out of it then was just non-existent. Like, I think for winning the Tony Hawk's contest, I think I won, like, 3 pints or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, yes.
But then now you see these Fortnite players, like Ninja, of course, PewDiePie, some of these guys, they make as much as professional athletes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Millions and millions of dollars a year. I mean, that shit that you can't do that stuff professionally is just gone. Like, now you can pretty much do whatever. If you're the best, it's one of those things that I heard when I was young. Of course, when I was young, growing up as a small town hillbilly in the middle of fucking nowhere, things were a little bit different. But nowadays, it's those things. It really is that no matter what industry you're in, or whatever hobby you like, or whatever thing you want to make a career, if you are good enough, eventually you will be undeniable.
Yeah.
And you'll find a way to make money. If you're the best, It can be the most obscure thing ever. If you are the best at that, you will be undeniable. And then you can find a way to leverage that into some money. So, moral of the story, kids, play video games. Play video games, have fun, especially if you're locked down. Maybe I should become a professional gamer. No, I can't. It would kill the thing
Imagine,
I love.
you'd have to go to the gym all day, like train everyone and stuff like that. Because you can't just quit your job.
I know.
You've got to keep your job.
I know.
Then come home and put another 8 hours into playing Fortnite.
I can't.
Oh.
I can't, dude. I can't.
When Fortnite
I'm not that competitive when it comes to video games. Like, I'll get competitive as shit when it comes to simulating murder and strangling somebody who's also trying to strangle me. But if somebody fucking spams some shitty move in a video game that I'm playing and I get really annoyed, I'll rage quit. I'll just be like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah,
I can't be like, okay, let me just jump back in here.
When Fortnite came out and everyone was raging about it and stuff like that, my brother got it. I said to my brother, like, oh, is it really good? Should I get it? And he just said to me, whatever you do not get it. I said, why not? It looks really good fun. He's like, no, you'll get addicted to it, Jake. You'll never be off it, and it'll wreck your life. So I was like, all right, fair enough.
Here's the problem that I have with the really, really popular games, like Call of Duty, Fortnite. It just gets to the point where you get those kids that are so good, those like 13, 14-year-old kids that it's gotten better over the years. They figured out ways to create the matchmaking lobbies so they're a little bit more skill relevant so that you're not getting smashed. But like 5 years ago, 8 years ago when I first started online gaming, dude, as soon as I drop in the world, I'm getting headshot immediately. Like, no matter, over and over. And I'm just like, I can't get over the wall. Yeah. I felt like I was a jiu-jitsu white belt who just walked into the most bully gym of all time. And I'm getting strangled like 60 times. Like, no one's easing me into it. No one's like, here, let me help you out. Let me be your friend. It's just like, spawn, death, spawn. People fucking camp. Like, this was like Halo 2. Right, remember Halo 2?
Yeah.
Like, just spawn, death. People camping on spawn sites and snipers up in the thing where they know people are going to... And I'm just like, all right, I'm done. Yeah. This is why I've never got into, like, multiplayer gaming. Because the threshold to get over the point where you're actually, like, moderately successful... It literally is exactly like martial arts training. If you go to a healthy gym, they can, like, slowly ease you in and you can have some progress. But if you go into one of those places that's hyper-competitive, you're just... fucking dead, boom, dead, strangled, over and over and over again.
I'm not learning anything.
Yeah, and you're like, is this what I need in my life? I feel like this is harmful to my mental health, not not beneficial.
I think it was Battlefield 2 or something like that, and the first time I ever went online on that, I was literally not even 10 seconds, and then I'm dead again.
Yeah,
I'm dead again. I'm dead. I mean, no fun.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, sounds really. Brilliant. I love this game. All right, man. Anyway.
So basically, there's been too many fights for us to watch. So good MMA by us.
So we just game. We just talk about gaming. All right, well, I'll tell you what. Let's hit up the card next week because the next 2 weeks, we got some big ones, dude. We got some big ones coming up. We'll get this thing back on track to martial arts. If you're listening to this podcast for the martial arts, I'm sorry that it evolved into the gaming, but I love gaming. So give us a comment. You want more gaming content or you want less? You want me to shut the fuck up about gaming or you enjoy it?
I'll talk about Tony Hawk's for hours. So
dude, no one likes Tony Hawk, man. Come on. Nah, I'm just kidding. And I don't know, I don't really see skating as big here in Singapore as it is like in the West, like in America or in Europe. I don't know what the scene is like here. I'm sure there's some, but like especially, I think that's what made it so big in the time that we were growing up. Is it's a little bit like the UFC in that time. It was still a little underground, so there was a side scene that was hip and cool and a little bit taboo, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, a little bit like MMA, and then now, all of a sudden, it's totally mainstream, and
this is going to be a weird concept for people as well to get into, but the music on the game was what sold it, because in the olden days, as it were, when you couldn't just go on iTunes and download the music was hard to get hold of. You had to physically go to a shop. And in the UK particularly, they didn't always have underground records by bands like Black Flag and bands by the Dead Kennedys. And the Tony Hawks had those songs on it. So me and my mates used to put the game on in the background just to let the songs play through because it was the only way we could hear those songs, which is crazy when you think about it.
I mean, I still listen to video game soundtracks today. I have like a bunch of them saved on my Spotify. I'll put them on our training. I have like a Mass Effect one. I have like one from The Witcher. That you ever play The Witcher?
Yeah,
I'll put that shit on in the middle of like rolling and stuff because it's just good fun. But you would be able to get like the Tony Hawk soundtrack, which would have all of those different. It was like a compilation of different types of music.
Amazing skate punk.
I know, exactly. So you would be able to get like this compilation of whoever the music director was of like these various songs that they thought represented the ethos of skating, and so you would get this like punk rock and you would get all this other stuff. And man, also low key video game soundtracks are some of the best music in the world. Man, if you play like, it's so funny, man, because okay, I mean, I've pretty much given away the answer already, but what do you think is the number one usage of orchestral music nowadays?
Is it video games?
It's film and video games, right?
Yeah.
How many orchestra concerts are people going to for fun? They're not. But if you listen to these video games, they will literally get these orchestras and produce this music. So if you're playing something like, especially like the JRPGs, like the Japanese games, they hire these orchestras and they write this music. And if you're playing like Final Fantasy VII, like the remake, or you're playing The Witcher, or you're playing like Mass Effect, they've got these whole scores that are just absolutely incredible. And nobody thinks about like, oh, let me listen to some orchestra music today. But I really feel like that in the modern context, if you want to listen to like big band music, orchestral music, it's totally dominated by the video game industry.
Yeah. They had a concert on here recently. Not recently, pre-COVID time, so 2 years ago, where they were playing like an orchestra came and played. I think it might be Final Fantasy, but I could be wrong. And you're like, oh, that's interesting.
But think about some of the most iconic orchestral music over the last 10 years, right? You probably have like Pirates of the Caribbean. You know what I mean? You probably have like what's another? All of the major video game ones. Oh, Game of Thrones, right? The Game of Thrones intro. I mean, that shit's iconic. No words, just it's film, it's television, it's video games. Where it used to be like that was the high class art that people go to watch in shows, and now it's represented in our digital media more than people actually go and watch it. But people still love it.
Yeah, we a kid at work who absolutely loves it. Composes his own video game songs and stuff like that. And to him, that's what music is. And you're like, all right, fair enough.
I mean, man, it really does hit the vibe though, right? Like if you're playing a video game and you're in some like climactic event, like maybe you're fighting a boss or something like that, and they time it perfectly so that the climax of the boss fight hits the climax of the music, and it'll give you chills, and you're just like, oh shit, you're like brain explodes as the combination of all of the elements going into the gameplay and the music peaking at just the right time, and that is its own form of art.
The one that was amazing was the original Red Dead Redemption, not the original, the PlayStation 5 one, or not PlayStation 5, PlayStation 3 one, or whatever.
Yeah, Red Dead, the first one.
Yeah, and you had that big
John
bit.
Marston.
Yeah. Do you remember, there's the big bit where it's basically an excuse for the game to load the second half of the game.
Yeah.
But you're going along and it's got like this big orchestral score going on in the background and stuff as you like going through this beautiful countryside while the machine's going, shit, load.
Dude, I'll tell you what, amazing. One of the best music moments I ever had in a video game was in Red Dead 2. Did you beat that one?
Yeah.
You know where you go to where you get dumped off onto the island for a while, whatever that fictional island is,
yep.
And then you come back, and then you take the horse ride to your village that's getting burned, and that song, I play it on the gym playlist all the time. It's called, can you pull this up for me? It's by D'Angelo.
I know the song you mean.
Unbroken, Unshaken, something like that. Fuck, I love this song. Absolutely love this song. Unbroken?
Unbroken.
Yeah. So can you pull that up on
Unshaken.
the screen? Unshaken. Yeah. Okay. So can you just so people can see it? You don't have to play it or we'll get us pulled, but yeah, Unshaken. If you've never heard this song, so basically this shit literally gave me chills, right? So you land on this thing and it's like this. Get back from the shipwreck basically, and you're on your way back to like your hub world, your little town, and it doesn't let you like sprint. You're on this slow jog and it starts playing in the background, and then while you're on your way there, the music hits perfectly and you go and your fucking house is on fire. And it was just like, dude, it literally gave me chills, and it just everything hit at the right time, and I was like, that's amazing. Another good one is You ever play that zombie game? Oh shit, what is it called? Where you drive on the motorcycle.
Oh no.
You know the one I'm talking about, though,
yeah.
right? I can't remember the name. Fucking someone listening to this is gonna kill me. It's a really popular game. The zombie game, the attack in hordes, and there was another good moment like that too, where you're on your motorbike, your motorcycle, and you're driving back, and they have the music slow play, and it literally times it out because they know it's like a 2-minute ride, and they peak it perfectly with the drama of the video game. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely beautiful thing, and it will literally just give you chills. The Witcher was like that too. I always just remember those women, those girls, hello, like right as you get into this sword fight and shit. Yeah, man, I love it. Maybe we should do more video game content.
Video games. Yeah. And yeah, I'll tell Tony Hawk, Skyrim.
Skyrim's a great one too. Great music in Skyrim. I mean, low key, the best music in the video game or in the media, just general digital media industry is video games. The music is just spectacular.
While we're going down this hole, did you see the new Metroid game?
Yes.
Oh, that looks amazing.
I know. I just hope it doesn't disappoint. I
No,
want to play it so bad.
What's it called? Metroid Dread. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. There's a lot of good video games coming out soon, man. We should literally do more video game content. I love it. You love it. Everybody loves it. We're in Singapore.
Yeah.
Everybody here loves video game content. So we'll do more of that in the future, I think. Maybe I'll put up just to see. You know, maybe it'll suck ass. No one will watch it. Maybe it won't. Who cares? No one watches this shit anyway.
These kids
So.
go, what the fuck are these old men talking about?
All right, man. Let's finish up with these fights, dude. We have big fights this weekend, and then the big one next weekend, 2 weeks from now, is Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier in their rematch. Both of those cards are absolutely sick. The one next week is Islam Makhachev. That's who's on next week. So Khabib's brother-in-arms, and
So I've got that.
Isn't that next week?
No, there's a week off fights, and then I've got Sunday the 11th of June. So 2 weeks is the McGregor one.
Can you pull it up there on the main?
Get that back up.
So this is what's next week? Let's do next week first, and then we'll touch on this because we can probably.
So according to this, there's not a fight next week.
Oh, this is the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, so there's not one next week.
No.
Good. I need a break, dude. Like, I love fighting, but I need a fucking break. Like, today I literally sat 4 hours trying to watch fights, and as we sit here and I'm trying to break them down, I don't remember anything I watch. Because if you just binge 4 hours of something, you're like, it's so messy in my head. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe Islam is the week after.
Yeah, that's the week after.
Okay. So this is the next. Okay, so the big one is the next card.
Yep.
Okay, so why don't you shout this out for me? Let's go through the main card here.
So, obviously, top of the card, the big one, Poirier McGregor 3.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I can't listen. Dustin Poirier is low key my favorite fighter in the world. Low key my favorite fighter of all time.
Yeah.
Who's the king of violence more than Dustin Poirier? Who? People said it was Gaethje. People said it was Eddie Alvarez. You know who beat both of them? Motherfucking Dustin Poirier, the Diamond, Mr. Lafayette himself. Close to my hometown. I'm from West Virginia. West Virginia and Louisiana are really incestuous cousins because we like that kind of stuff in the South. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, listen, man. Dustin Poirier is too consistent. He's too good. McGregor is too soft. He's sleeping in those fucking silk sheets. He's living on his yachts. Did you see that shit in the last fight where he's literally, because they fought in Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah.
He's literally parked in his mega yacht, and then he would just like dock and go to training and then go back out on his yacht. Dustin Poirier is not doing any of that shit. Dustin Poirier is a fucking grinder. He's the most blood and guts fighter in the history of the UFC, in my opinion. He's beat all of the kings of violence. He beat Eddie Alvarez, knocked him out. Justin Gaethje knocked him out. Conor McGregor knocked him out. Khabib, listen.
No one beats Khabib.
No one touches Khabib. No one touches Khabib. But if you had to ask me who's more violent,
yeah,
Dustin Poirier. Khabib is better, and he's more able to do his game plan. No one's ever fucking stopped Khabib. No one. Khabib's the GOAT, in my opinion. He's the clean GOAT. He's the natty GOAT. He's the GOAT. Because as much as I love John Jones, Khabib barely ever lost a round. People say Gleison Tebow, fuck you. Gleison Tebow, whatever, dude. He didn't do shit. Khabib's the king. He's the king of MMA forever, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think anybody will ever be as dominant as... Okay, let me ask you. Who in the history of combat fighting of any caliber has been more dominant than Khabib? Name me one athlete in the history of combat sports who's never fucking lost a round. Or you can count on one hand how many rounds he lost. Muhammad Ali retired late, lost multiple times. Everybody says Muhammad Ali is the GOAT. Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Robinson, Alexander Karelin, wrestling. I mean, I'm going multiple. Roger Gracie. I'm going through every discipline, major discipline in combat sports that exists. Boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling. Nobody has ever been that dominant in the history of combat sports, regardless of combat sports. Khabib is the motherfucking king. Outside of that, now that I've established that.
Now that we've made clear who you think is the best one.
Yeah, I mean, literally. Okay, in your head, right?
Yeah.
Who is the greatest? Let's not Khabib, and I'm talking all time, not in the short term. Who, in your opinion, in the global zeitgeist and the kind of collective consciousness of the world, is the greatest combat athlete of all time? Most people would probably say Muhammad Ali, right?
Yeah.
How many losses does Muhammad Ali have? 6, 7?
He got salty towards the end of his career. Is the problem there.
Yeah, you know what makes the difference? Maybe you could throw Floyd in there. Floyd lost rounds. Split decision against Oscar De La Hoya. Zab Judah dropped him or nearly beat him.
Regularly took the first 3 rounds of fights off.
Yeah, which, to be fair, that was strategic in most cases,
Yep.
right? But earlier on, he had some trouble, right? Like, he was put in trouble. He lost rounds. He had a few close fights. Khabib, I never saw... He maybe lost 1 or 2 rounds. People say, oh, the 3rd round against Conor McGregor. Okay, he got jabbed a little bit, whatever. But he fucked him up afterward. Like, so, okay, maybe he lost according to the judges, if I'm being technical, he lost that 1 round against Conor. A couple of judges gave a round from Gleison Tibau against him. Other than that, nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's the most dominant combat sports athlete of all time. But when shit gets dicey, this is the question about Khabib. When stuff gets dicey, what happens? No one knows, because it never got dicey with Khabib, which is both the biggest testament to his career and also the biggest question mark of his career. It's amazing how dominant he was, but also no one ever saw him hurt. Poirier's been hurt. He's been beat. He's been all of that kind of stuff. But when going gets tough, he never loses. Like, he's lost, but he got Korean Zombie, I think. Can you pull up Dustin Poirier's record for me?
Yeah.
So he obviously got choked by Khabib. He got beat by Korean Zombie. He got beat by...
Conor beat him a long time.
Conor beat him, knocked him out in the first round. So he can get beat if he gets caught. He's a little bit like Tony Ferguson before Tony Ferguson went on this recent lose streak. Yeah, so let's see what we got here.
Well, if we go back to his...
Oh, God, look at that record. Pull that up.
First
Put that.
McGregor fight.
No one wants to see my face. Pull up Dustin Poirier's record. My face does not compare to Dustin Poirier's record. No one wants to see that. Let's look at this. Okay, so keep going. Let's see all 5 of his losses. Cub Swanson decision, okay? Chance Junk Darce choke. That's what it was. I knew he got choked. Danny Castillo decision. So, I mean, early on, he was still raw, right? Now we go up. Now let's get to the recent streak after he lost to Conor McGregor.
So his first loss to Conor's there.
Okay, so now you're dealing with pretty good fighters here. Yancy Medeiros still currently fighting. He just fought today. Fahea, Joseph Duffy, the guy that beat Conor McGregor, knocked him out. Bobby Green, okay, moving up. That was the one. Michael Johnson. By the way, segue, Michael Johnson gets no respect. Knocked out Tony Ferguson, knocked out Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
The guy gets no respect. He's gone up and down, but that dude deserves a lot of credit because he's beat 2 of the best ever in the history of the lightweight and the featherweight division. Anyway, moving on. This is where it gets interesting with him. Look at that. Jim Miller. Then you have the Eddie Alvarez, the first one. Okay, but then he came back and he won that fight. Pettis, Gaethje, Alvarez, Holloway, lost to Khabib. Then we have the Dan Hooker, the Conor McGregor. I mean, dude, that is probably the toughest 5 fights in the history of MMA. Up there. Anyway, Shogun 2005, that's up there. There's a few of those streaks. That's one of the best streaks of all time. This guy's, and so many of those fights were just brutal. The Dan Hooker fight, absolutely brutal. The Justin Gaethje fight, brutal. Both Eddie Alvarez fights, brutal. Like, man, he had to go through shit to do that. Here's what I don't want for Dustin Poirier. I don't want him to go down the Tony Ferguson route.
No.
You don't want to see him go in that, like, skid.
But of the two fighters in that main card of Poirier and McGregor, who's the one who's most looking like he's going down that Tony Ferguson route at this moment in time?
Conor McGregor. You know what? I rewatched the fight. You can find it on YouTube for free now. The UFC just released the second fight for free. And I remember watching the first fight, and I remember thinking Conor was ahead. Of course, until he got finished in like 7 minutes, right? This is the other thing. People remember that fight, and they think, oh, yeah, Conor McGregor was winning until he got stopped. First of all, Conor got taken down in the first 30 seconds of that fight. And then what he did land were just like pitter-patter shots. Poirier started to establish that calf kick in like the second half of that first round. You could already see it by the end. And then 2 minutes into the second round, he was done.
Yeah, but I said at the time, I thought Poirier made easy work of him.
It was easy.
And I think he will again.
It was easy. Yeah. It was easy work. And here's the thing about Poirier. God, he has got to win the title. He's got to win. Who the fuck deserves it more than Dustin Poirier? I think he's the uncrowned champ of the division. If he gets past Conor, he for sure deserves the title fight against Charles Oliveira. He probably should be the champion right now. I think he beats Oliveira. Yeah. If Oliveira beats him, emotionally, I might not recover. Oh, by the way, Charlie Olives, I got you, bro. I love you. He's another one. He's like a Bisping character who fought for years and years and years to get to that point. Totally deserves it. I respect the shit out of him. Super dynamic fighting style. But pretty much everybody thinks that Dustin Poirier should have been in that fight. Yeah. He was ranked ahead of both of them, both above Chandler and Oliveira. So in my opinion, until one of them beats him, Poirier is the fucking king. But I hope he doesn't lose those fights. Because if Conor McGregor, listen, I like Conor McGregor. I love his style. But if he wins, if he beats Poirier, and then he favors up pretty well against Oliveira, honestly. I think if Oliveira and Conor fight, if Conor's like on his game, he wins. Yeah. I don't want to see Conor win another title. Like, as much as I like him, and do you? Do you want to see McGregor win? How much of a McGregor fan are you these days? I feel like his star is dramatically diminished over the last 2 years.
He's more popular than he's ever been potentially, but not because he's a good fighter anymore. Like he's popular like a Kardashian is popular. Yeah, that's exactly. Like he's famous because he's famous now. Yep. In the zeit, of course, MMA fans know who he is. He forged his path. He's a 2-division champion. He's obviously extremely legit. But in the current landscape of things, when was the last time he won a fight? Cerrone. I mean, and that was a weird one. Cerrone's 37, way past his prime. He's been on a skid ever since. Before that, when Diaz, 26-17? Did he fight? Did he fight Eddie Alvarez after that? Eddie Alvarez was his last amazing God Emperor McGregor performance. When was that? Can you pull up Conor's record? Let's see how recently he's had success. Not very. Not selling whiskey. Not very. So what do we got here with Conor McGregor? The longest Wikipedia page of all time. Yeah, because after Alvarez, he fought Khabib. His last performance where he looked like himself, like the McGregor that the world loved sort of thing, was that Eddie Alvarez performance, which is one of the greatest performances ever in MMA. For sure. But that I agree completely. 2016. 16? Yep. So that's 8 years ago. No. Wrong. Okay, so let's go with a good 5 years ago, just to round it. Okay. By the way, this is what 4 beers and a cigar will get you. Children, don't. Anyway. So then lost. I mean, the Cerrone one is still legit. You can't take that away from him. It was a beatdown, but that's not against top flight competition, right? Dustin Poirier made easy work. Khabib made relatively easy work, minus that third round. Yeah. Listen, I think it's a runaway for Poirier. I think Conor is way past his prime. I don't think he tastes championship gold again. I don't think he ever establishes his form. I think one of two things happens. The first thing that happens is he loses to Poirier. He loses to Poirier, he gets the Diaz trilogy. If he loses to Poirier and he loses to Diaz, he's done. Yep. If he loses to Poirier and he beats Diaz, he's done. Yeah.
because he's not going to retire on a loss unless it's 3 losses in a row, which then he has to save face. And if he beats Diaz, okay, what has Diaz done recently? 12 seconds of success against Leon Edwards? Okay. Yeah. Listen, I was screaming at the TV. I was super crunk for Diaz, but Diaz looked like shit in that fight. The volume wasn't there. You know, the Diaz brothers attack you with volume. He's bending over and showing his ass, and then he gets him hurt, and the killer instinct is gone.
Yeah,
there was no killer instinct.
We said it on the podcast that disappeared, that he could have taken Edwards out, but instead decided to point and laugh at him.
Yeah, well, if I hadn't violated children, then people could have heard that podcast. But clearly,
it's really good. We
it was a good podcast.
Those fights in detail, unlike today.
It was a good podcast. We had a structure. We came in with this whole thing. It was excellent. No one will ever know because I endangered children. You know, this MMA podcast that I do with my buddy who I train with, we endanger children. So no podcast. Anyway, I digress on that point. Point is, Diaz hasn't done shit.
No.
He looked like shit in that fight, even though he had the chance to win. The thing he was doing, he's bending over and he's like, ugh, and then he hurts him and he's like, he doesn't swarm him. The volume was gone. The aggression was gone. He's more showboating than fighting. I was not a fan of. Everybody loved that. Nate Diaz. Everybody was sucking him off. For me, I thought it was a terrible performance. He had an opportunity to win. He didn't.
He was outperformed for all but the last 35 seconds of the fight. Thoroughly outperformed. Like he never looked like he was in it until that last bit of the fight. So,
and the parts where it looked like, I mean, I actually think he could have done better if he had fought. He didn't fight.
Yeah.
Where was the volume that the Diaz brothers are known for? He's sitting back and fucking around and getting kicked and he's turning sideways and bending over. A lot of people enjoyed that fight. I did not. I thought Diaz was a shell of himself. I thought it was his worst fight ever. At least with Masvidal, he was still walking forward. I just thought it was bad. So anyway, get back to the point. Let's say that he loses to Poirier. The Diaz trilogy is always there, right? Yeah. I don't know who will win that, but I think win or lose, he will retire after that fight. Let's say he gets past Poirier. Obviously, the UFC is going to stick him in a fucking title shot, whether or not he deserves it. I think he loses to Charlie Olives. I think he loses to anybody it's in that top tier. But I think he's a good matchup against Oliveira.
Yeah.
And if he manages to somehow get past Poirier, I think he stands a decent chance of winning that fight. If he does win and he somehow beats Oliveira, just retire, dude, because you're done.
Then what?
You're done. Like, you can't. If you're a two-time lightweight champion.
Go fight the Paul brothers, make $1 million, like $100 million for each of those fights, $200 million in your bank account, and quite easy money for Conor McGregor. Do that instead of fighting UFC where you could get actually badly hurt.
I mean, I'd still like to see him fight Tony Ferguson. I think that'd be a good fight. I think that could be an interesting one. There's other things you could do with him, but if he loses another one, it's going to be a tough sell for his legacy and for the fans, because the fans are already starting to change their opinion of him. He's still a huge casual draw. So the people that don't watch MMA, Conor McGregor's fighting, so let's watch. But you can only do that so many times and lose so many times before even then that shit starts to sour.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, my prediction is a definite win from Poirier. Maybe there's a scare or two in the fight because Conor McGregor's still dangerous. He's still got that left hand. He thinks he's a boxer now, which I think is weird. If you watch the first Poirier fight, he throws a wheel kick to the head in the first 10 seconds. He's level changing. It's so dynamic. His front kicking is level changing, spin kicking, spinning back fist, heavy hands, walking him down. And then you watch this last one, and he's just trying, slipping, ripping, but he got taken down. He's getting hit with check hooks. He's getting his calf kicked. It just wasn't the same.
It's a shame. When you go back and watch his earlier fights, he used to be so good. He used to be so entertaining. And just everything about him, his stance is different now. He's got a boxer's stance. He used to have that quite wide stance. His kicking used to be excellent. When was the last time he kicked someone? I can't think. And
then also the trash talking is gone. The mental warfare seems to not really be there. Apparently he's going to bring it back. That's what everybody. The fight's in 2 weeks. Where is it? Jose Aldo, he's stealing his belt.
For 6 months taking the piss out of Jose Aldo.
I know. He's stealing his belt. He's fucking trolling him. He's talking in his face. He's screaming at people's... They're like, oh yeah, trash talking Conor McGregor's coming back. Well, the fight's in 14 days. Where's he at? I haven't seen shit. I don't see any of that. I see nothing. So, and again, you know, you can't go to training camp coming off your fucking yacht and expect to beat Charles Oliveira, who grew up in a motherfucking favela. Like, this dude grew up in a favela. Dustin Poirier, listen, Lafayette, if you don't know Lafayette, that he grew up poor, right? Like, these people that are fighting from that type of place. Can you pull up the lightweight rankings? Let's take a look at the top 5 in the lightweight rankings here. Because these guys are not Conor McGregor. The best thing Conor McGregor could do is just literally go back to his roots. He should rent a shitty-ass apartment in the middle of fucking Dublin. Maybe he's too famous for this, right? But he's got to do something to get back in touch with his roots. Because this, like, parking your yacht to go to your training session, to go back on your yacht and sell your whiskey, this is just not working anymore.
Here you go.
So this is top 5 in the lightweight division. Let's see what we got here.
Obviously, Oliveira top, Poirier, Gage, Dariush, Mark Chandler, Ferguson's still in there bizarrely, Dan Hooker, Rafael dos Anjos.
The only people I think that Conor McGregor can beat in that top 5 is Tony Ferguson. Maybe Michael Chandler. I don't think he beats Oliveira. I don't think he beats Poirier. I don't think he beats a lot of those dudes. So it'll be interesting. You know, we'll watch. I'll be super pumped.
Definitely watch it.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not against Conor McGregor. But, you know, it's hard to get behind those people that are like megas. It's like Floyd, right? It's really hard to – LeBron. It's really hard to get behind those people that reach that superstardom. Actually, I take back what I said about LeBron, because LeBron has been amazing his entire career. He's married to the same woman he got with from the very beginning. He seems humble. He's never had a scandal in his entire life. He's not punching old dudes for saying they don't want his fucking whiskey. Like, Conor McGregor's kind of a douche. Really, like, in this part of his career, he's got some very, very douche-like tendencies. The Poirier thing about not donating to his charity. What a cunt move. He donates it to another charity, like, next to his, but it's in his same town. Just the shit, it's just the shit that he does. Like, I'm a fan of his fighting style. But it's a little bit like John Jones. I'm a fan of his performances, but not a fan of him as a human.
At least John Jones is fun.
Yeah, and John Jones owns it at least.
Yeah.
Now he does anyway. All right, let's break down the rest of this card real quick, because this will be the next one that we cover. We'll do a podcast next week, but we'll talk about some other shit. Okay.
Gilbert's Wonderboy.
That's a good one. This card is a banger.
Yeah.
Stephen Thompson versus Gilbert Burns. I gotta go with Wonderboy on this one. Wonderboy, I think also I want him to win, because at least it's a different fight for Usman.
Yeah.
Because he already just beat Gilbert Burns. Thompson's takedown defense is really good. His striking, I think, will be better, but he's a little salty in the old age bracket. Is he 38?
Yeah, he's getting on.
Can you see how old he is?
38.
Yeah, boom, nailed it. 38. So you're dealing with a couple salty dogs here in Stephen Thompson and Gilbert Burns. I like Stephen Thompson in that fight. He could get submitted, but historically his submission defense is pretty good. But it's an interesting fight. If Stephen Thompson wins after the Usman-Covington fight, I feel like he should be next in line for that.
No, Leon Edwards.
What has Leon Edwards done, dude? You're right. I don't know why. I'm just like the standard.
Poor Leon Edwards.
I know. I'm feeding into it. The guy can't get a break. Like, he dominates Nate Diaz for fucking literally 23 and a half minutes.
Not lost in years.
I know. And everyone's like, meh. You know what I mean? Meh. You're right. He deserves it. I don't want to see it, but he deserves it. Plus, Usman already beat him. At least Usman and Wonderboy haven't fought yet.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. Poor fucking Leon Edwards can't get a break. Poor Leon Edwards, man. He had that fight with Woodley scheduled in London. He probably would have beat. Woodley was already on the decline at that point. Yeah. If he had gotten that fight, he would have gone above Gilbert Burns.
Yeah.
He got a rough one, man. But, but he got that. I don't know, man. They have to do the Masvidal fight, I feel like, before they give, after that 3-piece Minnesota shit.
Yeah.
They got to do that first.
That's one of those bizarre ones that actually the UFC and I assume Leon Edwards would make more money if he fought Masvidal than he would fighting for a title, because they could main event a pay-per-view with Masvidal Edwards, and it'd get more buys.
And you hype that shit up. You show that video of Masvidal bitch slapping him a bunch of times. You know what I mean? You hype that up.
Yeah, fuck it. Let him fight. Wonderboy can fight for a title. Let's watch that instead.
And if Masvidal wins,
No, I'm not watching that again.
what do you do then? That's the question. But so that's a good fight, man. I'm crunk for that one. Let's keep going. Let's knock this shit out of the park.
Tai Tuivasa, Greg Hardy. Tuivasa, I reckon.
Ugh. I mean,
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay.
Ignore it.
We don't have to
Pretend it's
ignore it. I mean, excuse me.
The thing about
I feel like either guy's not particularly relevant. It's a fun one.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of. Obviously, I want Tuivasa to win.
Yeah.
He's hilarious.
Doing his shoeing.
Chugs beer out of a fucking nasty ass shoe. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. He's funny. Australians are hilarious. Just like that whole crew of like those crazy Australians. Thoroughly enjoy them. Greg Hardy likes to beat on women sometimes, so I can't really get behind. I guess it's behind him and people grow and all that stuff.
It's
a tough one.
It's a weird UFC experiment that we've already seen is not going to work because the second he comes up against someone who can double leg him, he's fucked.
Yeah. And I just think there's not a chance there. But having said that, Tuivasa is not exactly the most technical guy to ever. He doesn't have great wrestling. I know he's training with Cormier a little bit now over at Gilroy and doing all that kind of stuff, but I like Tuivasa in the fight. I hope he wins. But I'll watch it. It's a fun fight.
Yeah.
It's not super implicative of the heavyweight title picture or anything like that, but it's a fun one. Let's round out this main card here. What else we got?
Irene Aldana versus Yana
Kunitskaya.
Thank God you said that because I said that really badly.
I bailed you out, dude.
Me.
I tried to bail you out there. Yeah. That's a good fight.
Yeah.
Good female fight. I don't really have a dog in that race, but it should be a good one there on the main card. And then the last one is
O'Malley.
Ooh, that's a good one. Good one. Got to take O'Malley in that one. But Luis Smolka is really, really wiry on the ground.
Yeah.
He's really, really sneaky jiu-jitsu. He's just like a worm or something. Like, you get a hold of him, he just slithers out of stuff. Good fighter. Sean O'Malley, probably that's going to be a blowout for him.
The thing about O'Malley is, I always watch him, and he's just got that weird, lanky frame on him. And it's happened to him a few times now that I want him to win because I really, really like. He's hilarious. He's a fun fighter, but he's one of those guys you watch and you're like, oh, but his knee could go out at any second.
Yeah, a little weak in the legs. So they say, anyway.
Yeah.
He's not had a huge UFC career but here's what I'll say about O'Malley. In the sense of, he reminds me of Conor McGregor in one way, and that's his fighting style. He is damn dynamic.
Yeah.
He's throwing spinning back fists, wheel kicks, jump spinning back kicks, dropping people with like, he's just so flashy and dynamic, and he packs a ton of power. He is a fascinating fighter. Like, the hype, no one knows exactly where he's going to end up. And that whole thing with Chito Vera, I didn't lose, that's kind of bullshit, right? Like,
yeah, you lost.
That rubs some people the wrong way. But, man, when you watched his fight with, what was his last fight? He fought, can you yeah, if you don't mind pulling it up. He knocked him out in the third round. He dropped him in the first round. But, the type of techniques that he was throwing, to have the confidence to throw that, he's really, really evolved into one of the most dynamic strikers I've ever seen. Thomas Almeida. Yeah, that's who it was, Thomas Almeida. Yeah, I mean, that was incredible. And by the way, Thomas Almeida, pull him up again. Thomas Almeida is no joke. Oh, shit, I got to let my wife in. Okay, pause. I'll be right back. I have her card. I have her key.
I'll just let it run and we can just edit it out.
Maybe we should clap so I know where it's at. Yeah, I lost my card somewhere. So I have hers, so she's fucking stranded out there. Oh shit. I was like, oh, she's gonna be home. Dude, she might come back and be like, I've been sat out there for 35 minutes.
What are you two idiots talking about? Video games.
We're pretty much done anyway.
Yeah. This laptop's going to die any second as well.
Okay, I'm just gonna pee. We'll do the closure right now.
you too, man.
But you can go in the elevator if I buzz the thing. Yeah, you don't have to walk upstairs. Okay, we're still recording the podcast. We'll just finish it and I'll come out. Alright. We pretty much wrapped that up anyway, right?
Yeah. Just do the close clap so you've got.
Ready?
Yeah, it's on you.
Okay, so Thomas Almeida and Sean O'Malley, we sorted that out, and he's fighting Louis Smolka in the. That's the first fight on the main card?
Yeah, that's the first main card.
I mean, they're obviously trying to pump him up, right?
Yeah.
This is why they're putting on the first fight of the Conor McGregor card. So, can I see the undercard real quick, just to see if there's any other tasty fights in there?
Might run out of battery.
That's okay. We're pretty much done here anyway. I just want to see if there's any other juicy ones on the undercard that are worth remembering. That's a good card, though, man. I can't wait to watch that. And then the following week is Islam Makhachev.
Yep.
And I can't remember who's fighting. Moises? Thiago Moises? Something like that?
Oh, no. Laptop's died.
Okay, laptop's died. Well, whatever. We'll break it down as it happens. We pretty much wrapped this thing up. It's been a solid hour and a half. Jake, the producer, thank you, my dude.
No, it's good. Good fun. Finally.
Good fun. We're back, everybody. Podcast is back. Training is back. Life has kind of resumed to a normal situation here in Singapore. So if you like this podcast, please give it a like and a share and a comment. Otherwise, if there's anything else you'd like us to talk about, please just leave us a comment. You can email me. You can get a hold of me anytime on my social media. You can maybe get a hold of Jake if he decides he wants to listen to you. Maybe not. Just depends, okay? He's got a lot of football, a lot of rugby. He's got a lot of things going on right now.
So much sport. I can't wait. The Olympics is coming as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed for that one. It's gonna. The summer of sport is here.
Yeah, we're in a good spot. I mean, if you're locked inside, then at least you got something to do, something to keep yourself preoccupied with. So everybody, thank you all for listening. I hope you all stay safe. I hope you all are back to training and having a good time. And I hope very much that you enjoy this podcast. So thank you all for listening. This is the Stronghold Podcast, and have a good day. All right.